Thank you for being here. My name is Alex Brody. I'm the Director of Meetings for the Association of the U.S. Army, and we have a great group, as you can see here this morning, to hear our distinguished speakers. First, I want to thank our 4-star sponsor, Leonardo DRS, and our 2-star sponsor, Leidos, for their support of our coffee series. We can't thank you enough for your support over the years. Let's give our 2 sponsors a big round of applause, please. Simply put, we can't do these events without the great support of our sponsors. So if you're interested in being a sponsor at any of our events, please connect with Gay Hudson or Emily Call, and they'll be happy to go over all the great benefits of being a sponsor at events like this. We appreciate the presence of the general officers and command sergeant majors that are joining us this morning as well. It's always great to have you here. And I'd like to acknowledge the congressional staff that are here with us today as well. Your efforts on behalf of the Army, soldiers, and families is greatly appreciated. With that, my 3 minutes of fame are up, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Vice President of Leadership and Education for the United States Army. Please give General Les Smith a big round of applause.
Thank you, Alex. What's the easiest way to become a 5-star general? Great reviews on Yelp. Why does the military plant trees every year? To grow the infantry. Stop there. Stop. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Alex. And General Brown would never let me come up and do this again now. So welcome. We have a great group of leaders here today to hear them about the budget. So Mark Bennett became the director of the Army Budget in August 2021. General Bennett was commissioned in 1990 into the Field Artillery as a distinguished military graduate. He has served in a variety of command and staff assignments from tactical to strategic levels, including multiple Pentagon assignments. Shortly after arriving for his first duty station in the Pentagon, he supported the Army and the nation's response to 9/11 attacks. His general officer assignments include Director of Resource Management in the G8, Headquarters Management MCOM, and most recently serving as the Commanding General of the United States Army Financial Management Command. We also have Major General Thomas O'Connor, who hails from Massapequa, is that right? Park, okay, New York, and graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1994 and became an aviator. So he talks like this. He previously served as the commander of the United States Army Aviation Missile Command from 2022 to 2024. His previous assignments include leadership and staff positions within the 3rd Army Cavalry Regiment, 25th Infantry Division, the 101st, 1st Army Division, and the 1st Infantry Division. Prior to AMCOM, he serves as Deputy Commanding General for Operations for 8th Army Korea and the Deputy Commanding General of the Aviation Center of Excellence. And finally, we have Kirsten Taylor. She serves as the Chief Financial Officer in the Office of Assistant Secretary of the Army for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. She administers the programming, allocation, and execution of approximately $32 billion annually across more than 350 acquisition programs. Ms. Taylor began her career in the Army as a budget analyst in 1995. For the past 3 decades, Ms. Taylor has held key leadership positions in financial management, resource integration, acquisition planning at the Pentagon, U.S. Forces Korea, and other commands. Please join me first in welcoming Lieutenant General Mark Bennett, or Major General Promotable Mark Bennett, for some opening remarks. You guys can come on.
General Brown, General Smith, thank you for those kind opening remarks. We've got a great panel up here. Today, what I thought I would do is kind of give you a quick overview of our 26 submission, and then we'll talk a little bit about our Army transformation, our continuous transformation that we're undertaking right now that I know you've seen a lot in the news as well. And then we'll take your questions at the end here. So thanks for having us today. Truly an honor to be here amongst the crowd. Our 26 budget demonstrates a strong commitment to our Army, our soldiers, and the nation's security, and remains to allow the Army to remain the most capable, ready, and dominant fighting force in the world. Comprised of two components that forming one budget request, $192.2 billion in discretionary funds, and then you've got another additional $5.4 billion in mandatory or reconciliation funds in the request, for a combined total for the United States Army of $197.5 billion. They can pop up that chart. That'll help them kind of follow along here. I'll now talk a little bit about each of the appropriations along the left-hand side. If you look at the top right column, you'll see the small box there that's got the forward slashes with it. That represents the reconciliation of the mandatory piece of our budget request. Okay, so that's the $5.4 billion there. And then 192.2 in the discretionary for the grand total of 197.5. First and foremost, in our military personnel accounts, we're investing in our people. Budget includes a significant 7.4%, and it goes up to 7.7% when you include the reconciliation component, increase in military personnel funding. It supports a 3.8% pay raise, also includes the 10% targeted pay raise for our junior enlisted that was passed into law last year. It also supports our active duty end strength growth overall of 10,900. On the active side, the request for 454,000, that represents an 11,700 increase. For our Army National Guard, it's at 328,000 for a 3,000 person increase. And then for the U.S. Army Reserve, the end strength target is 172,000 or a 3,800 reduction, all netting to that grand total of 10,900 growth, supported by that 7.7% increase in our military personnel funding. In our operation and maintenance accounts, you'll see a 3% increase in the base discretionary portion, and a 6.4% with the reconciliation also included in there. There's $2 billion in there for increased force posture. Also includes $340 million for barracks improvements, $463 million to support transformation-based readiness, and $116 million to help us expand our holistic health and fitness for an additional 20 brigades to a grand total of 91 brigades across the Army by the end of fiscal year 26 for holistic health and fitness. In our procurement accounts, growth is about 6.2%, grows up to 14.2% with reconciliation. So you see where the bulk of the reconciliation request is in procurement accounts. This includes over $2 billion in critical missile and air missile defense programs, to include $679 million towards the AMSHORAD program, another $637 million for the LTAMSD. There's investments in munitions, as well as another $1.1 billion to modernize our organic industrial base, a very important component of our efforts to get after building the capacity to get after munitions. And lastly, we're investing in the future with RDT&E, 1.6% increase in the discretionary portion, grows to 7.5% with the reconciliation. Again, you see that increase there inside that reconciliation component. But that's all key to maintaining our technological edge. Includes $555 million for the next generation command and control. That grows to $2.9 billion when you toss in the procurement request that we've got in the submission as well. It's a very large increase in next generation command and control for us. $1.25 billion for the long range assault aircraft, and another $723 million to fund 4 prototypes of the M1E3 Abrams tank. In our military construction accounts, finally, we're investing in our soldiers and our families with requests for $411 million for 3 barracks at Fort Wainwright, Fort Campbell, and Eglin Air Force Base, as well as $82 million for 2 child development centers, one at Fort Hamilton and one at Fort Jackson. The 22 budget does lay the groundwork for the more lethal, agile, and resilient Army. And a key component of that for us is the Army transformation, or our continuous transformation initiative. It's focused on rebuilding the Army to a leaner, more lethal force, ready for the challenges of the modern battlefield. This transformation rests on 3 key lines of efforts. The first, delivering critical warfighting capabilities. We're prioritizing and accelerating the acquisition of technologies such as the unmanned aircraft systems, counter-unmanned aircraft systems, long-range fires, missile defense, cyber, and electronic warfare. Secondly, we're optimizing our force structure, consolidating major headquarters in the generating force, and streamlining CONUS-based operational headquarters to increase effectiveness. We're also freeing up soldiers to serve and maneuver in support units, putting them back out in the field. And finally, our continuous transformation is a strategic shift, reinvesting resources to ensure our future dominance. It truly is a divest to invest strategy. We're making smart choices to shed outdated systems and programs that no longer meet the demands of the modern battlefield. The initiative is about creating a leaner, more lethal, and more agile force ready to face any threat. Our 26 budget is a responsible and strategic investment in the Army and our nation's security, prioritizes our people, our readiness, and our modernization to ensure we are prepared to meet any challenge, deter aggression, and promote and protect our interests around the globe. That's my opening comments. I'll now turn it back over to General Smith for his first question.
Excellent. Thanks. So, Mark and team, let's start with you first, Mark. We seem to start every year under a continuing resolution that lasts from a few months to the first ever year-long CR for the Army and DoD. Can you tell us some of the impacts of a continuing resolution for the Army that we've had as we head into FY26?
Sir, thanks for asking. The continuing resolution environment we've seen for the past 2.5+ decades has an immediate impact. The biggest thing we lose is it's time. Lose time to begin things, to get after production rate increases, any of the programs that we want to get new starts with. All those things hurt us. Military construction projects all get delayed. So that's kind of the challenging environment that we operate in while under continuing resolution, especially the short ones, where they do it for a couple of months and they'll add a month, maybe a couple more months, those kind of things. This year, we experienced our first year-long continuing resolution. First time the Department of Defense has gone through that. Along with that came some very significant flexibilities that were very important to us, that's really helping us get through the year. The importance of the flexibility in terms of reprogramming authorities, allowing us to get after production rate increases, which is very important. And another big one, too, was the new starts for programs that we want to get going after quickly. The rules they gave us on the new starts were a little unique in that as long as the House or the Senate Appropriations Committees had marked the program, in other words, made a effort to say, hey, this is what we'd like to put towards this, we were permitted to go after that new start program. Okay, so I'm hopeful in going into looking at fiscal year 26 with right now where the committees are over with the Congress, it does look like we're heading towards that again, at least for the short run. I cannot rule out a year long. I cannot rule out a lapse of appropriations either, or shutdown as it's known. But we are prepared and thinking through a lot of those, again, looking to the importance of those flexibilities that we'll need to get after things, such as the production rate increases in our munitions programs, for example, new start programs, things that we want to start to get after without having those kinds of delays. So we look forward to working with the oversight committees and to help ensure those flexibilities here as we head into fiscal year 26. Right now, we're still focused on 25 and 26. We're still waiting on our feedback from the Senate side, but we do expect that here in another week or so before they head out on recess to see what they think of our request for fiscal year 26. So, but do anticipate at least a short CR start, to my opinion on that, and we'll see what flexibilities we get as we work with the committees here in the coming weeks. So, but thanks for asking, sir.
Okay, good. So let's before we open it up to the audience, one for you probably, and then the FD. Can you give us an overview of major programs that were either canceled or accelerated in FY26?
Yeah, thanks, sir. I'll start off and then I'll turn it over to Tom and see if Kirsten has anything to jump in on. So, divestments, 4.9 billion total investments we've got in the 26 request. Programs such as the Paladin Integrated Management Program, the Legacy Anti-Tank Missile, the TOW missile system, the Gray Eagle, Humvees, the M10 Booker, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, the improved turbine engine, as well as the Future Tactical Unmanned Aerial System. So those are just some examples of the programs that we took a look at in terms of becoming more efficient. Again, systems that are not ready for the modernized battlefield.
Yes, sir. I'll just add to that. It's not just the reduction or of certain programs that Mark had already laid out, but it's also about the optimization of our force. As we reduce different types of force structure across the Army, those operating costs are also cost savings that allow us to reinvest into more lethal capabilities. As discussed, in the initial rollout for ATI, we're reducing the number of ABCTs. Those ABCTs becoming more mobile, becoming more survivable on the battlefield, but also reducing overall operational costs. As another example of reduction assets.
Okay, Kirsten, anything?
Nothing more to add. Thanks.
Okay. Questions from the floor?
Good morning, General Bennett. Dan Shear from Inside Defense. Thanks for doing this. On reconciliation, I was wondering kind of what's sort of the Army's plan? I mean, you have the reconciliation dollars laid out in the budget, but is there sort of a detailed spending plan that the Army is going to share with Congress and with industry? Like, I know you have the justification books for the base budget. Will there be some similar level of detail for the reconciliation money?
No, thanks for asking. And absolutely, we will. We are working with the Department of Defense right now to pull together our plan. Really, it's kind of a spend plan approach to it, to provide the committees, to give them some feedback on the bill that they just passed here the past couple of weeks, to where we look forward to basically enabling that capability that's provided in the reconciliation bill.
And for FY27, I guess you guys are starting work on that. Is the plan to go back to the base budget funding level for 27, or is it to fund the base budget at sort of the level in 26 with the reconciliation dollars?
Not great question, but unfortunately, I cannot answer that. It's a policy decision that is pending to be made. So pre-decisional at this point, but yes, I'm sure that's a question that we'll have to answer here in the coming months.
All right, am I on? Good. Hey, good morning. Yeah, Scott Porter from Talus. As we get deeper into the age of transformation, does that mean that we are going to, I guess I'll say, depend more on exercises like project convergence to give us the short-term feedback we need on how to step forward?
So part of the Army's continuous transformation initiative, it's always important for us to understand, what feedback we're getting from units, whether it be transformer contact units or training exercises such as project convergence. But we're leveraging every single soldier touch point at our combat training centers, as well as home station training events, where we can ensure we're delivering the lethality that our soldiers and our units need to be more survivable and effective on the battlefield.
Ms. Taylor, General Bennett, General O'Connor, thank you very much for joining us today and for providing us this terrific dialogue. I'm Mark Holland with the Association United States Army. We've listened to the Secretary and the Chief speak about, speak about agile funding. So I'd like to ask a little bit, and the examples have been unmanned systems and electronic warfare. Could you comment, please, how the 26 budget will help enable agile funding, and a little bit about what that means? And is it agile funding across the board for all programs, or is there certain programs the Army's requesting agile funding for?
No, I'll start with that. Thanks for asking, because it is something that we did include in our fiscal year 26 President's budget submission. We've been working with the committees over the past several months to get after really three key capabilities, and Tom will talk about why they're important here once I get done with the budget input on it. But the UAS, counter UAS, and our electronic warfare programs. What we sought to do there was budget line consolidation, collapsing budget lines to allow us to be able to move money more quickly as the technologies advanced, to get after that, call it the next leap in that technology, to make sure we're buying the stuff that our soldiers need. As you all know, in the news, what we're seeing in Ukraine and elsewhere, technology is changing so rapidly, faster than we've ever seen it. So that's part of why we're trying to get in front of this, by allowing us to take advantage of those capabilities as they become available. This is the first year that we've got it actually in the request, working with the committees. We look forward to continuing to dialogue with them as we look at other areas in the future. But right now, it's just in those three key programs of UAS, counter UAS, and electronic warfare. Total of about $2.3 billion between RDT&E and procurement, okay, and collapsing those lines. So we've got RDT&E lines collapsed, and we've got procurement lines collapsed. Okay, we'll be able to move within those, working with the committees more quickly, we believe, and more rapidly to be able to address rapid and advancing technologies as well as the conditions on the battlefield. Tom or Kirsten, any thoughts?
To add to that, the RDT&E is a collapse of non-S&T RDT&E. So we have left the S&T in their single BAs. So we have continued to be able to see.
Can you guys hear her? Let's do that. Check that mic back there, please. Get a hand off if we need to. Right.
How about if I talk like this?
There
Is
you
that
go.
better?
Yeah.
All right, so it does, for RDT&E, it does not include the S&T portion of RDT&E, so we've left that alone, so we continue to see that details as we go forth and execute it. For procurement, it is new and exciting because we are collapsing into a couple of areas where it's two appropriations. We are now into one single appropriation, which will allow us some greater choice in being able to move much faster.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. So let's jump back into another question while folks are thinking in the audience. The Army is accelerating FLRAA with the FY26 budget request. How does the budget support that acceleration and fielding of that capability?
So the budget request is trying to ensure that we can, help develop prototypes, help facilitization costs, associated with bringing that critical capability into the force. As you think through the operational requirements, we'll take into PACOM, as an example, our ability to extend the range and the reach, of our aviation formation is extremely important, and FLRAA is the capability that will help us to be more lethal, more agile, by extending the range and the supportability of our future aviation formations.
Okay, anybody else?
No, thanks.
Okay, can you highlight, yes, there's a question in the back.
Hi, good morning. John Klein, Johnson Controls. Thank you guys so much for engaging with industry. Can you provide another level of detail on the objectives for modernizing the industrial base in the budget?
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for asking. Our industrial base investments, in terms of recapitalization projects, we've got $612.5 million in the request at locations like Crane Army Ammunition Plant, Letterkenny, Tobyhanna, and Waterville. Inside our OIB modernization projects included in there for a grand total of just over $1 billion at Lake City, Holston, and Radford, just to give you some examples of what's contained in it and within the budget. But thanks for asking. It's a very important part of our getting after the capacity that we need to get the munitions and other equipment items produced more quickly and effectively.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Shank Candina, Bastille. I had a couple of questions with regards.
Speaking to the mic, sir.
Had a couple of questions with regards the talk about an IT peg, and then specifically, what's the position right now in terms of the execution rates and getting to the execution rates, especially with the change in appropriation and colors of money and such? Is it going to be easier? And a third part of the question is, I keep hearing from my associates, or customers and such, about reductions in force, reductions in personnel, 10% reduction across the board. That only seems to serve slowing down the procurement process for anything and everything. So could you maybe comment on that?
I think on the creation of what we're calling the DD peg, which is what I believe you're referring to.
DD peg?
So yeah,
Delta peg?
Delta peg.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So
Digital peg.
yeah, the digital peg.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Again, to me, it's a part of the recognition of the importance of that effort. As I mentioned, the $2.9 billion investment inside of our next generation command and control in fiscal year 26, all in recognition of, hey, the network is exceptionally important to us, delivering the capability that our soldiers need at the right time and the right place. I'll let Kirsten jump in on any thoughts she has on the DD peg, and then I'll touch on the people aspect of it here when she's finished.
So just to be clear, it's not new PEG. It's been around for a couple of years, but we are increasing its oversight. That's all I'm going to add to it.
In terms of people, yes, we did participate in the overall effort to reduce our structure on the civilian side. Overall, it's a little over 20,000 of full-time equivalents were reduced to a dollar total of a cost avoidance of about 2.4 billion. It's all built into, and again, reinvested into our modernization, our people, and our training and our readiness. So that's what that money went towards.
Yes, go ahead. Next question.
Sir, can you hear me? George Nicholson, the Washington liaison for the Global Special Operations Forces Foundation. I see under military construction, you've got a 19.6 reduction. You talk about 2 child care centers, one of the highest priorities that we have in SOF, and that's the child care center for the 7th Special Forces Group in England. That seems to be an ongoing thing. Is there actually going to be money for that? And has it been resolved with the Air Force and England where that's going to be built? Because there's an issue of the Air Force saying you can't build it on the Air Force complex.
So I can address I'm not as familiar, lost my familiarity with the issues at England there and figuring out where that's where our barracks project is going to be built. That's what's in our request. So I'm going to go with that. The reduction that you speak of there is more a function of we had a super increase, a 325% barracks increase request in fiscal year 25. So when you see the delta there, that's largely what explains that drop. Is the Army made a concerted effort last year. This year, again, with our continuous transformation, there's a little more of a balanced approach, but plowing that money into modernization. But we're still going after 3 new additional barracks, again, as I mentioned, that are going to be at Wainwright, at Fort Campbell, as well as at Eglin there, as we talked about, and then the 2 child development centers to get after taking care of our people. Obviously, there'll be more projects in the future. Our FSRM, in terms of repairing our barracks facilities as well, another important program for us, $2.1 billion total for barracks-focused money to be placed after getting after restoration and maintaining our facilities there, and 100% towards the sustainment of our barracks, making sure we're taking care of our soldiers out there. So, but great question. Thanks for asking that.
Good morning, sir. Thank you all for taking time with industry today. Michael Greenberg from Decision Lens. Sir, we got the PPB Reform Commission report back a year or 2 ago. I think there's some money earmarked for it in the reconciliation bill. Can you tell us a little bit if there's anything going on DoD-wide, but more importantly in the Army, as far as processes with PPBE or just general decision processes across the building? Thank you.
No, thanks for asking, and you are correct. There is funding in there towards the PPB efforts. I don't have the exact dollar total at my fingertips, but I know there is. And the Army does have a piece of that as well as resourcing for our audit efforts as well. Fiscal year 28 is coming fast to get after that opinion that we're trying to move towards to get completed. So important pieces in there. I expect our efforts in PPBE reform will pick up here in the next couple of months. Administration's getting the new administration coming in, figuring out what they want to go after. We had decided in the last administration to go after a few items in there, not everything that they said. The new team's on board and they're taking a look at that now, and I'm expecting to start seeing direction being given there for us to continue to pursue some of those efforts. Our budget line consolidation is actually in the report as well. That's part of what we were leaning ahead in the Army in doing that, getting after collapsing those lines in our agile funding initiative with the UAS, counter UAS, as well as the electronic warfare program. So, but yep, there is resourcing in there for that.
I'll just add to that too. I mean, decision dominance and decision efficiency is something that we're always looking to improve upon. How do we see ourselves, understand the complexities of the environment, and give our best military advice or make the best decisions with recommendations for taxpayer dollars. So all of those are ongoing efforts continuously as we try to improve ourselves.
Okay, let's pull the thread a little bit more in Indo-Pacific. So how does the budget support Army contributions to the Joint Force, including investments in long-range fires, logistics, and pre-position stocks, and exercises like Operation Pathways?
Give me 1 second, sir.
start off, Mark, if you don't mind. So sir, it's a great question. But as you look through the budget request, you'll see a significant, investment in improving our capacity for munitions, specifically some of our air defense munitions, as well as our long-range fires efforts that are in there. You also see some increase, in long-range shooters. You'll see development, in efforts to include building autonomous launchers, and trying to ensure that we have the ability to sustain operations across the Indo-Pacific with investments in some of our watercraft strategies moving forward.
Okay.
Within our OMA request for fiscal year 25, we've got just within operations and maintenance a $586 million investment to that. The increased force posture that I spoke about as well, towards the Central Command Area of Operations, $769 million, towards the European theater for force posture, an additional $1.1 billion total in there, aimed at our increase in our presence in our force posture. So those funding for European and Central Command were previously funded through supplementals. This year we saw it in what we call the CENTCOM-UCOM Transfer Fund, which funding we just received here in the past 2 weeks to begin pushing that out to our commands that have been putting their efforts in full force out there in both of those theaters. So we are looking forward to that request being supported in here to continue what we're providing to both of those theaters of operations.
Okay, there was an earlier question about soldier and family resilience. Can you just give us a highlight of some of the other areas of the budget request so we can help inform our constituents about soldier family resilience and quality of life?
Yeah, I'll start off with again, the holistic health and fitness, the investment in that, helping to put those expertise within our brigade formations, growing to 91 brigades in 2026. The importance of that to our units out there, we're seeing effects of it's reducing injuries, it's reducing incidents, adverse incidents in the formations, and it's helping them achieve their basically optimal performance in doing whatever role they provide the United States Army. So a program we truly believe in, and hence why you see such a large investment in fiscal year 26 to grow the number of brigades that have that capability.
Okay, anything else from the floor? You got 3 great leaders here that you can ask all the hard questions. Maybe we should ask Kim Chamberlain to ask a question. Okay, so talk about the Army Transformation Initiative and its impact on the Army's night vision devices. How did that impact what was going on, and what are things that we can think about and learn from?
Do you want to start?
Sure, another great question. So as we get soldiers that are transforming in contact equipment, we get feedback from where we are. We developed a comprehensive strategy that puts capability in the right echelon at the right price point to ensure the soldiers that have the right capability are in the close combat formations and those that are enabling that are in there. So great feedback from the soldiers on our night vision device strategy way forward. What are those things that we know we need, we know we want, and how to improve the product that are in soldiers' hands that are in there. But again, you'll see some investment in night vision devices on how to get that equipment to the soldiers' hands and distribute it out to the field and continue to get feedback on where we can go and how we can improve it.
Add a little on both the enhanced night vision goggle binocular ENVGBs and the night vision device next, or the NVDN, which is now referred to as the binocular night optic device, reflect priorities through the fielding assistance and planned upgrades to replace the aging PBS 14s and PBS 7 night vision devices. The Bravo ENVGB is a fused thermal and low light binocular system that improves soldier vision in degraded conditions such as fog, smoke, as well as darkness. And it integrates the family of weapon sights and our Net Warrior program for targeting and enhanced situational awareness.
Okay, good. So let me ask this question first. Start with you, Kirsten. What can industry do to help you in your job where you are today, and ASOP. What can industry do to help you?
Continue to stay on schedule. So one of the things that
Okay, expand a little bit on that.
So as we provide funds for programs, we're constantly looking at schedule, performance, and cost, and making sure we are staying on schedule so we don't get Congress coming in and asking us questions, or when you get behind schedule and we're not seeing funds getting obligated, you become a potential
A
bill
target?
payer, a
Yeah,
target
yeah.
for me to look at as a source, as there is a never ending appetite for the next new thing. So we are looking for sources. So if you can stay on schedule, obligate the funds in a timely manner, provided that you get them in a timely manner, then that would be extremely helpful to us.
Okay, sir, what about you?
Yes, sir. I would say that we're blessed to have an incredible defense industrial base, and we've got and some incredible partners, across the entire industry. I just think continuous communication, continuous innovation, and ensure that we stay abreast of what are their challenges and opportunities on how to deliver equipment that meets our requirements at a faster pace. What would it take to do that? And understand where the trades and opportunities are and risk. But it's always great to have great industry that keeps delivering some incredible technology for our soldiers.
Okay, Mark?
I think I'll echo what Kirsten said with staying on schedule. We continue to maintain focused investments in our industrial base. It's been $1 billion over the past 4 years, all the 4 years I've done the budget delivery. So I've had to proudly deliver that comment about it. So I think those investments are going to help industry work with defense and providing the nation the capability that it needs at the right time and the right place for our soldiers.
That's good. So another question reference people, we have a ever-changing workforce. So what are things that industry, academia, and others can do to help bring the right next generation of people to come work in your spaces? Let's start with you first, sir, and then jump over to Kirsten and then finish with Mark.
No, that's sure is a great question. So, I think, the Army always needs, great people. And I think innovative, physically fit, mentally tough, warriors that want to protect other people.
And I'm talking about military and civilian.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then from a civilian standpoint, and really both on the military side of the house, as you think through the changing landscape of, where AI is going, how do we create an opportunity for us to leverage, the great technology and the explosion of technology and microcomputing, across our industry or our defense, systems. How do you maximize those capabilities and encourage people to leverage those great tools that are now being developed?
Okay, Kirsten.
So I think it's what we had said earlier about communication. I think it's important that we communicate the new ideas as we work with industry, and they've come up with a great idea or solution that they see that could work well within the service, and to be able to share that idea so that we can grab hold of it, think about it, and try to move forward with some of those. We're
Okay.
always looking for good ideas. So how do we move faster?
Yeah.
AI is a big area.
What about the people side? How do we develop the next you?
Well, the next you is going to come from hopefully within my organization as we grow them. So we're looking for training opportunities. So how do we have civilians work with industry for a training exchange?
Okay, it's good. Mark?
I think it's through an investment of time, taking the time to mentor and coach the next generations, plural, as I'd like to talk to our leaders, because it really is. It's part of the Army's got a program, the battalion commander as well as the colonel level commander assessment programs, where we're taking a very, very hard look and an advanced screening of our key leaders in those roles. And they truly do have that impact across generations, plural, of the next generation. And I think communicating with them to coach and mentor that next generation to step up, I think it's an exciting time to be in the Army. I think that is evidenced a lot by our success in our recruiting this year. For those that recall, our request in 25 was 442.3 thousand. But we've grown beyond that, 10,000 plus this year. That's a real credit to our recruiting workforce that's out there. That's in there day in and day out doing some of the toughest work in the United States Army to encourage again, not only the soldier, but also the soldiers' families to invest in them to join the United States Army or another military service. So, but I'll give credit to our recruiting command on that. And again, that communication tools that they do to coach and mentor and encourage them to join what I call the greatest team in the world, the United States Army.
That's great. So what I'd like to do now, since there's any other questions from the floor, so starting with you, Kirsten, is there anything else that you want the audience here to know about, or something that we did not cover that we need to talk about when it comes to budget or in your space?
I need a minute to think about that.
Okay, we'll come
circle
back
back
to you.
to me.
Go ahead, sir.
So I think advocation for consistent, predictable funding over time, is something that we all need. You can't, it's difficult to make decisions if you don't really know what your fiscal, space is going to be. I think, we're very blessed to have, the budget that we do, but the consistency will help us make better decisions and better investments over time. That would certainly be a big ask for the community to help advocate for that. The second thing I would say is try to figure out how we can reduce costs. We have to continue to innovate, and figure out how do we do things more effectively and efficiently, and there's a lot of great ideas out there. How do we bring those to the table so we can figure out how to be smarter and wiser and make every dollar count more?
That's good. Ma'am.
You were quick to come back to me. So not only consistent funding, I want to say on-time funding. How do we ensure and work to having our budgets on time? And that's not necessarily something industry or government or us, the services can really do, but it's continuing to have that message back to the Hill. We need to have our money consistent and on time.
Okay. Mark, before you respond, there's another question from the floor.
Morning.
Yes, sir.
The comment that piqued my attention more than any other was the comment about CUAS getting an increased funding allowance. It's probably not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case. And that is, can you tell me what is the Army going to try to do to improve that capability? And where is that money likely to, what organizations are likely to be, spending that money?
For the question about what organization, is going to spend the money, but from a counter UAS, the Army is really looking at, the full spectrum from, unit common, soldier common type of counter UAS equipment, all the way through division level assets, and then up to strategic level assets. So if you think of the counter UAS, there's different, there's type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? There's different groups, of UAS systems that are out there. So we need to have a layered protection, everything from the soldier and unit common type capability all the way through investment into either directed energy and or kinetic kill type capability to sense, detect, and then defeat that capability that's out there.
Okay. If you're going to ask that question, go ahead. But there's another question from the floor. Okay. Go ahead.
Tim Witecki, thanks panel members for answering questions. I have a general one. Could you give us an overview on what Army investments are being put into Golden Dome and the idea of force structure and, how is the Army's roles and responsibilities in that?
That's a good question.
So I think the Golden Dome efforts are still being developed and decided on what, and how much of where and what capabilities are we going to deliver, in there. But from the point, you can consider things like the LTAMS radar. You can think through THAAD, and or Patriot type systems that are in there. But there hasn't been any deliberate decisions yet on, what are those capabilities, how much, across the board. So it's all real pre-decisional.
Yes. Another question in the back. We have piqued the interest in the crowd. Yes.
Good morning, Lieutenant Colonel Todd Orges, new ASAU fellow and current AGR Army Reserve officer. So my question is the Army Reserve has 0 counter UAS. We have an aging fleet. Our newest, sexiest ground vehicle is the JLTV, which is about to be canceled or underfunded. And we continue to deploy at a high rate. We're less than 8% of the Army budget. And we continue to fill some OSs, such as civil affairs, at a 90% rate of the overall Army force. So we eat a lot of that. And so my question to you is, what do I take back to the force and tell the force? How are we going to modernize the Army Reserve in FY26? And what is templated for that to push the modernization of the Army Reserve?
I can start off, I think, a little bit on some of the resourcing aspects for the reserve component with that. We do recognize the incredible role that they provide our forces out there. I got a chance to visit a bunch of them on Tuesday this week up at one of our largest exercises up at Joint Base Dix, McGuire-Dix Lakehurst up there, which was a combined effort that had active guard and reserve, not only for the Army, but we had the Air Force and the Marines there as well. So important integration effect with that, because that's how we operate on the ground today, particularly in the European Central Command, as well as in our Pacific theaters of operation. I think one of the areas you'll see some goodness in our modernization efforts with our reserve components is in the area of what I'll call pure fleeting, moving from the Lima models to the Mike models on the UH-60s across the board to help to improve that. We'll get some efficiencies out of that, not only with our pilots and their training, but also the mechanics with one system to maintain. Similarly with the AH-64s, going to the Echo model there, both of those platforms, the older variants cost more. It costs us about a third more to operate the UH-60 Lima than the Mike model, and it's about half the cost to operate the AH-64 Echo compared to the Delta model. So just some areas there where that allowed that real savings in all components to be able to get after more and more readiness and time doing what they need to do to get prepared for that next mission. But a great question and an absolute key component to our overall Army structure, as well as our budget and our reserve components.
So Mark, any closing remarks from you, sir?
Thanks again for joining us today, for your questions here. I do look forward to this event. It's important. I think it'll help get the word out. We need to know what's on your mind too, that two-way dialogue there. I think I'll close with what I'll call one of my the points about timely, accurate, predictable, and sustained funding for the Department of Defense and the United States Army. So critical to helping us become more efficient and more effective. If we can get our resourcing in a timely way, accurate, predictable, and sustained way, we will be on a way to doing things more better, efficiently, to help get after what the nation has asked the U.S. Army to do, while we take care of our soldiers, civilians, and their families at the same time. So thanks again for what you do, and you're part of this each and every day, and thanks for having us up here. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks, General O'Connor and Ms. Taylor, for a great discussion. Our annual meeting is coming up. We'll be back at the Walk D Washington Convention Center 13 through 15 October for the best show ever. For this information and more, join us at ausa.org. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.